In today's episode, 100 Deadly Skills, Clint Emerson shows us how everyday household items can save our lives.
Is the old flashlight, the tampon, a discreet stabbing tool.
Retired U.S. Navy SEAL shares his tips on how to survive any crisis.
Ooh, that's a great idea.
Learn tips on how to survive an active shooting or deter home invasions. But first, be sure to like this video, comment your opinions, and subscribe to our page for more content like this.
I'm just wondering, like, when the first deadly skill comes at us. I'm like worried about the TV screen, man. I'm like, this guy's got it down.
I showed up with what you guys requested. So.
Well, yeah, we're
always on hand.
So we're going to get right into that. First, I want everyone to be able to see that this book is absolutely incredible. You can see it on there, right? This is one of several books that you have right now, right, Clint?
Right. We got the first one. It came out a couple years ago. And then that one was more of like covert, clandestine ways of tricking your enemy. And then the second book is more about misadventure, chaos, and active shooters and all the crazy stuff. That's the survival edition. And this third one is combat, which is really just 100% violence.
Right. And that's the one here.
Right.
And I have to say, for all the folks who watch our podcast regularly and watch myself and Dana as Adrian, I fundamentally was very torn about having them join me for this podcast to actually help educate them on ways where they can cause me harm and physical pain and potentially kill me. But against my better judgment, here they are. So this may be my last podcast if Clint's as good as we think he is.
Watch out.
That's good. I like it.
So before we jump in, and I know you held up one of the devices or one of the items that we're going to be going through, and a lot of cool different stuff, which is really beyond, by the way, when I was telling people that we were doing this podcast, the amount of people who said, I want to watch that. I'm sending it to my mom. I'm sending it to my sister. Guys saying, so, I mean, this is real stuff. I mean, I have 3 daughters who I would absolutely share what I've been reading with in the book. A lot of people in my life I don't want to share it with, as I've mentioned. But how did you get started? Take us just back through a Clint version of the Navy SEALs, BUDS, because we can't have a Navy SEAL on without actually going through that. People love hearing that, and it's something to be so proud of and so rare that people can do it.
Yeah. Well, first, I appreciate you guys having me on. It's awesome. The SEAL community obviously has been blown up by the media and movies and books, and now I've joined that gang. I used to be one of the SEALs that sat in the squadron space looking at some former team guy talking head on Fox News and go, that guy is a sellout. And now look at me, so now I've become what I detest, but it's, 20 years after the fact. So I did my 20. I started in BUDS class 203. It's a big deal to start with your class and finish with your class because there's so many people that quit, come back for another shot, or they get rolled back because of a medical injury. So to put it in perspective with that attrition rate is we started with about 180 guys and graduated with 28 originals. And 28 originals is, you say that because there was another, I can't remember, maybe 10, 15 other guys that graduated with us, but they rolled in because, they had a medical injury or something that caused them to get rolled back to our class at different phases. And so BUDS is no joke. It's 6 months of basically cold, wet, and sandy. You learn a little bit about being a frogman, but you really don't get anything until you move on to the advanced training that comes after that. And so that's what these days they have a thing called CQT. Is it CQT? SEAL qualification training. Yeah. And when I went through, you just went through BUDS and then you showed up to your team, and then your platoon mates in your team gave you all your advanced training. Now they have a new standardized way of doing things, thanks to Admiral McCraven, so that everyone is trained exactly the same before they show up to a SEAL team. So I can't really speak accurately to what the new guys are going through, but for me, you showed up to a SEAL team and you were the new guy, right? And that's, to me, was the most important aspect, is you were the only guy without the trident on your chest, which is, that symbol right there. And you were amongst a bunch of guys who had already done deployments and were seasoned, experienced dudes. And you were the guy that had absolutely nothing to offer and everything to learn. And so it was humbling, and it kept you humble all the way through. Well, pretty much kept me humble all the way through my entire career, because it wasn't a day, even at the 20-year mark, I still didn't feel like a new guy. Right. And there's something to be gained from that you're showing up 15 minutes early. You're always staying late. You're constantly volunteering, and you're not just volunteering. You're the first one to raise your hand. You're always willing to learn. You always know that somebody's better, badder, faster, stronger. And you know that from the very beginning. Whereas I'd say some of the guys coming through now, when they show up with their trident on their chest to a SEAL team, some of that I think has been lost. But so I got off on a tangent there, but I ended up at SEAL Team 3.
It's the millennials, man.
Right.
Whether it's working at Starbucks or Navy SEAL, man, they just don't get it anymore.
Yeah,
Clint.
it's like there's a little bit of that. You believe it or not, they can make these. There's millennials tough enough to make it through buds, but they turn out to be total bags later on. So
well, and one of the things I do want to say without interrupting you is that we've had some other SEALs on in the past. Obviously, great humans, ton of respect for them. One of the things that we missed off the top and meant to do is to thank you, and we've done that in the past, but we should have thanked you, and we do now, for what you've done, your service, everything that you've put in for us, for America. So just want to make sure that we didn't leave that out. It should have been the first thing that we said. So thank you very much.
All good. No problem. So yeah, I ended up at SEAL Team 3, hung out there for about half my career, then came back from Iraq of one of our deployments, and was asked, hey, do you want to join this special program? I was like, yeah, sure. I didn't even know what the hell it was, but it was something new and exotic and sexy, and I was like, yeah, okay, you can't tell me about it, then I want to do it. And so I went down that path and ended up at the NSA for a little while. They have one SEAL billet, meaning one position for a SEAL at the NSA, which is the National Security Agency, and they are roughly 10 times bigger than the CIA, and most people don't know that. It's an incredible organization full of technology and cool stuff. And
But there's a big difference right there between you and I mentally, why I never had a shot in a million years and never even considered what you guys do, because I've seen all the programs. I've watched it on Discovery. Huge fan of what you guys do. Very impressed. But you guys, just to get through training, you have Hell Week where you sleep like 3 hours.
Yeah.
You're living in like 50-degree water. You guys are getting hypothermia. Your skin's coming off your legs from running. So you go through all of that times much more. And then someone comes up and says, once you've done that, hey, we've got something extra special on top. You want to volunteer? I mean, I'd be so gone the other way at that point. Like, and you're saying, yeah, let's take it up 10 more notches. So, I mean, that shows the mindset of what goes into someone like you, why you are able to be so unique and elite in where you've gone.
Yeah. I mean, a part of it, I grew up wanting to be a SEAL, and it was a desire and a passion thing that, and if you ask most guys, that's what gets them through it. They just want it so bad. They're willing to put up with some ridiculous stuff to get there. And you mentioned, cold, wet, everybody knows the Pacific Ocean is pretty much the same temperature all year round. And that's because the water comes down from Alaska, right? That's the flow. And so it stays pretty cold, unlike the Atlantic. Now the Atlantic gets colder, but it also gets super warm in the summer. But it doesn't matter if you're a summer class or a winter class, you're going to be sitting in 55, if you're lucky, 58-degree water for a better part of 6 months straight. And then on top of that, you got sand. And so it's just, that's where I think terms like, being comfortable with discomfort or being comfortable with being uncomfortable is a lot of those quotes sure as hell apply to going through buds as a student. Because, it's there. I don't know of anything else out there that can replicate it other than the discomforts of war and other parallel scenarios. But it's very difficult to replicate something that they put together in such a nefarious way, I would say. It's almost like, whoever created the system of buds and wrote the script for it, I mean, they were devious, no doubt about it. So, yeah, it's pretty cool.
That's well. How did you come about? Because we want to make sure we give a lot of attention to your book. Because if people, when they watch this, if they haven't downloaded this or bought it off Amazon, which is where I got it, then they should. And we're going to give them some examples of what's in this. I know you brought some regular household items that are going to blow people away. I haven't even seen all of them, but why don't we start there? Because I think that's so fascinating. And then we'll get into some of the other cool things in here that you have to share with everyone.
Yeah, no problem. The books lay the foundation for people to be more self-reliant, self-rescue orientated. That's its goal. And they're not only just informative, but they're also entertaining because of, the illustrations. And then, of course, I've got my own, sick, twisted, tongue-in-cheek humor that's sprinkled throughout so that it keeps...
We like that.
Yeah, keeps your attention, right? I mean, the rectal concealment is everybody's favorite. I mean, and as we get into rectal concealments, like what we joked about is the tampon. Now, the tampon has all kinds of uses. The cotton inside makes great everything from a water filter to...
They handed me one, Clint.
Wow.
They handed me one.
This is probably the first time he's ever touched a condom. Or a tampon, rather.
Once in a blue moon, I've been told I have to buy a box at the grocery store, and I will admit I turn the other way and reach for the boxes and go up and drop it on the register because I'm still a man child.
Yeah. How old?
Yeah.
But don't take a picture of me holding. Okay, I'm going to leave this to the professionals.
Blackmail. I need it for blackmail.
Yes.
Okay.
Go ahead. It's a deadly weapon. This is not a joke.
Sorry.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure you can come up with some deadly stuff for this. Well, so one is, the cotton inside, along with the what do they call that? Just the string, right?
String.
The string.
The
that hangs
string,
out.
yeah, the tail.
Right, the tail. You just push it to the left or to the right, depending on what you're doing.
Looks like a birthday candle, honestly. I put it on a cake. See, I would think more in terms of if you're trying to throw a party and you run out of candles, I'd be the idiot who'd be like, happy birthday, not knowing what I just did.
There you go. There's another method.
That is the use. I call it a Molotov cocktail, right? You find your favorite bottle, you fill it with your favorite fuel, and then you use the cotton and that fuse to light it and throw it in the direction of your whoever it is you're trying to.
Very smart.
So you would literally just take the end of that, obviously, and put it into the bottle, just leaving the wick out, essentially.
Wick.
Well,
I'm never going to see it as a wick.
The string, the wick, whatever it is.
That was great.
And then what proof does that alcohol? And again, I have to say as a disclaimer, so my lawyer doesn't call me before this even finishes airing. We're not advising, recommending anyone to do anything to hurt innocent people. Neither is Clint.
Correct.
This is all entirely for self-defense, protecting yourself, your family. Let's be super clear. But having said that, what proof would the alcohol need to be?
Well, it's usually in the traditional Molotov cocktail, you're literally using gasoline or a fuel of some sort is ideal. Because once it lights and it breaks and it spreads, then you're creating as much of a fireball as possible. And everyone knows Molotov cocktails are used by protesters, worldwide. It's easy, readily available, right? Fuel, a bottle, and an easy fuse. So you light it, you throw it, and it's not until really the glass breaks and the fuel spreads and it all catches on fire at the same time. But it could also get you out of a different or dangerous situation when you're overseas. So having kind of like a toolbox of improvised weapons is, and this of course is knowledge based, right? That toolbox is in your head, and knowing that everyday items can be used for all kinds of stuff. The other thing is a water filter, right? So wherever you're at, you could be rural USA, and you've been stranded. Your wife has one in her purse, no doubt about it. And now you could take a puddle of water and filter it so that it is somewhat clean. Now, is it going to filter out, any of the bacterias or some of the stuff that could potentially make you sick? No, it's not designed for that. But using it as a straw, leaving it exactly the way it is right here, okay, and then putting it, the tampon end in first, into that puddle, or if you've got an empty water bottle, fill it up, stick it inside, and then, using the plunger as a straw, you're sucking that
Very
water.
creative.
So you're getting all the dirt out. You're not drinking dirty water. You're cleaning it the best you can for that moment in time. Now, are there better methods like boiling it and some other stuff? Of course. But we're talking worst case scenario, and all you got is certain things, then put them to use in order to make, minutes, days, or hours a little more survivable, right? So
I've got this vision now of like, all you got these SEALs, they're getting on, a helicopter, whichever, like, and you guys are loading up and you're heading into like a hot zone, and all it's about to go down, and you guys are just checking your gear, AR, you're calling everything out, night vision, check, comms, whole thing, tampons, boys, and you just have these 20 guys roll their gear, and
check.
That part probably doesn't happen, but these are the survival skills for us mortals at home,
yes.
Versus like what you guys might have been like when they were going in to like take out Bin Laden. I'm doubting as they went over that fence or that wall, it's like, all right, he's in there, boys, load up, who's got the Tampax, follow me.
Yeah.
I'm taking it to the other extreme, but that is really ridiculously cool. I think it's, and I want to make sure that any disgruntled employee that is unhappy with me, we have to make sure that certain items are no longer allowed in the office, because I don't want someone pitching a Molotov cocktail in my office right at me.
Do you want to try sipping your coffee with one?
No, I don't want to sip my coffee with one, but thank you for the offer. All right, this is amazing stuff. Let's keep going. What else you got for us?
Well, as we know, there's a lot of things you can do with tampons. An everyday item, and I pulled one off my shelf because it's the old flashlight, right? So a flashlight goes a long ways in a myriad of ways. So, ideally you have one that has the serrated rim around the edge. Most of them these days are LED and super bright. This one happens to be waterproof. It can be used as a charger to charge your mobile devices. It's chargeable, so it's got a patented USB port that's it's basically two-way, right? Plug anything in and out. It has a strobing effect and a lot of cool lighting situations, but a flashlight, not only is it great for searching for the things you need, because that's what it was originally intended for, but you can hold it in different ways in order to create certain effects. Number one, you can hold it kind of up like this, with with the light pointed at the ceiling. You use the ceiling, it's called the umbrella technique, and it'll literally light up a room. A lot of people sit there and do the point, and it doesn't, it's only going to light up what you're pointing at. But as soon as you point it at that white ceiling above you, it just reflects and illuminates the entire room. It's almost as if you turned on a light in the room. It's a much better way of checking out your environment than the typical just I'm going to point it at things. So illumination, blinding, right? You can no doubt blind a bad guy with it. So it's the old blind and bash, right? You blind them and then you hit them with the serrated part of that flashlight as hard as you can and then disappear. Can
you show us that, like standing? I know it's hard on video without a real person, but what would be if someone was in front of you, like what exactly would you do?
Yeah, I mean, we're talking home security, right? You come around the corner, you've got your flashlight, and you're startled by someone. I would say that you would want that flashlight in your dominant hand, the hand that you punch, hit, or write with. And then, you've got your other hand up, kind of serving as a premeditated blocking force, right? It's out in front of you. It's the first thing that's going to feel or get hit. Because when you're talking about dark environments, you kind of need all your senses firing, and feel is a great one. So if you're walking down a wall, you've got it lit up and you're coming, they know you're coming. So we'll talk about it. Light discipline is important because your blueprint better than anyone else. So if you're in your own home, it's ideally you keep the lights off, let the bad guys stumble around and trip over the furniture, because that's only going to serve as a benefit to you. But when it's that time to come around and you really want to check something, you want to fire off that light, you're going to, let's say that bad guy is all of a sudden standing there and you're face to face. This hand, it'd be great is if you hit that light, you blind them, but you also reach out and throw a palm strike to their face, and then now you can follow up with the flashlight itself until the point that you can escape. once again, you're blinding them, you're shocking them with a hit of some sort, turn the light out and then disappear, because your eyes are still going to be somewhat equal. But if you really want to make sure when there's lights on, lights off, lights on, keep one eye always closed, right? And that's a tactic that we used to use before night vision was readily available, is you're using your white light, whether you're outside or indoors, but you're always keeping one eye closed so that if it does go completely dark, you got one eye that's going to be functioning just fine in the dark, and the other one is functioning whenever there's visible light, right? So there's a lot that you can do with that flashlight, signaling for help, right? I mean, these LEDs these days, one LED is good, visible for like a mile away, right? Now, if you got a flashlight that has 500 plus lumens, maybe multiple LEDs, now people can see you from 5 miles out or further if you're talking about aircraft, right? If you got people searching for you and you put that light to the sky, or you create what's called a buzz saw. You take the flashlight, you put it on, you take some paracord or a shoelace, you tie it to the end of the flashlight, and then you spin it. Okay. Wow. And most aviators are used to looking for what's called a buzzsaw. And that's how we would get an aircraft, especially helicopters' attention. If they're coming in to pick us up in the middle of the night and they're flying on their night vision, they can see the buzzsaw because it creates basically a light circle. Right? All you see is this cool circle because you're spinning it so fast, and you can spin it, vertically, like to your side, almost like you're lassoing something, or you can get it horizontal above your head. So if I'm trying to attract people on the ground, then I would probably put it horizontal so that light is constantly flashing and circling at them. Whereas if with the sky, you might do it a different direction, right? So anyway, those are
think of that for people who are camping, hiking. I mean, that's what's so cool about all this stuff. I mean, it's all applicable. Mm-hmm. It's all applicable for obviously home self-defense, walking to your car, which we know is a huge, huge risky area, parking structures, dark structures. But how many people camp? How many people hike? And how easy is it, to get separated from your group even?
So scary.
Even if you don't need to be rescued, this technique might prevent you from needing a rescue because your own group may be able to find you. So it's what's so cool about all this. And a lot of this stuff, as you're saying it, I mean, let's be realistic. Most people or no one is going to be able to handle themselves the way a trained SEAL would. But for whoever is dumb enough to break into Clint's house, well, they kind of picked the wrong home anyway. And that kind of goes under world's dumbest criminals. Yeah. But for most people, over and over again, the experts advise what you're trying to do is resist enough so that they say, I'm going to go elsewhere. I don't need this problem. Right. I don't need them to get their hands on me and get DNA. I want to make a loud enough noise that a neighbor's light goes on. So all of these techniques that Clint is going through are so valuable because it buys you that time to have someone think this ain't going to be as easy as I think it is to hurt this person.
Sometimes I get scared as like a single female. I just feel like I can do whatever I can, but a man is so much stronger, like one hit. Like, what do you recommend for a single female living alone if an intruder were to come in?
First and foremost, go buy yourself a pair of size 12 cowboy boots and put them outside your front door.
Ooh, that's a great idea.
So there are the 4 Ds of security, right? And so if you have a front door and a back door, putting those big male shoes out there, it serves as a great deterrent, right? Because if it's a sexual predator, he's coming at night, he's coming for you, right? So you put some signs out there that say, hey, you're not going to be successful here, right? That can be security signs. Obviously, you want to illuminate your property as best as possible. You want to cut all of those big shrubs that might be growing near your home down so that no one can really hide behind them or hide in them. Because the point of illumination isn't so that you can see, right? Because you're inside. It's so that all your neighbors can see everything that goes on outside your home. They become your witness. They become your 911, right? If they see something weird out there. And if you live in a neighborhood where it's, where kind of you're more of a tribe, You talk to each other. And there's a lot of neighborhoods where no one talks to anyone. But I can tell you from experience, as operators going to a target in an urban environment, they know we're coming, right? Because everyone talks, right? The grandma sitting in the window 24/7 is telling the entire neighborhood that, hey, we're the bad guys, right? So the bad guys are coming, right? So the same thing can apply if you just talk to your neighbors, illuminate the place, put those signs and different signs and symptoms of a house that isn't going to take any, and it goes much further than what most people do is they just divert to, I'm just going to buy a gun, right? Well, yeah, I mean, now you're basically, what you're saying is, I'm going to wait until they're all the way inside and within range. That's what the gun is for. But ideally,
last resort,
right? So ideally you do, the 4 Ds is deter, right? The first D is deter, which is I look at the home and I go, never mind. It has all those things going on that make me feel like I will be unsuccessful as a bad guy, right? Then there's the delay or detect. Those two can go hand in hand, both at the door and in the property. So, delay would be obstacles, and that would be your locks on your doors, or it could be just the light plume around your property is so bright and so big that it forces them to go to different areas if they're hell-bent on getting to you, right? So anything you can put in their way. Locks, alarms, obviously that's kind of more of the delay and the detect. Then you have the deny, which also goes hand in hand with how you lock and fortify your home. And then here in Texas, we have the 5th D, which is called death, right? When you walk in the door, then you're done. So if you follow like those 4 or 5 Ds of security when setting up your home, then you'll be covering your base. But probably the most important one is deterrence, right? How do I get them to just stay away and keep on going? And there's a lot to go with physical security, but specific to women is, definitely the shoes out front. And if some guy doesn't care about that and he kicks your door in, then at that point, you got to have a system in place of some sort, right? You have to have that means of maybe barricading or locking yourself in a safe environment, the ability, obviously, to communicate, calling 911, or better yet, you have your car keys too. You can fire off that panic button and get your car going nuts outside. So that means all these things need to be co-located probably where you're sleeping, right? So on your nightstand, what I call a tactical nightstand, you're outfitting your nightstand so that it becomes, basically life support, right? You know that you can close the door to your bedroom, you can barricade the door, you can call 911, you can fire off the panic button, you can fire off your alarm system if you have one. You can basically do all these things. And then, of course, you grab your bear spray because that's better than mace, or you grab your pistol if you know what you're doing with that pistol, right? Or rifle or shotgun, whatever it is you choose. But key takeaway is you have to know what you're doing with that thing before you just go and buy one and put it in your nightstand and think you're going to be okay. Because the last thing you'd want anyway is for that to be taken from you and used against you. So make sure if you're going to go down the path of firearms, get the training to go along with it, and then sustain that training on a regular basis. But book 2, 100 Deadly Skills Survival Edition is literally 100 skills on that type of stuff. So I could talk all day to it, but there's a lot of great, easy ways to really fortify your living environment, both the home itself and the room in which you sleep.
So we've gone back to some of the gadgets, and I think I already tell you, I know you're going to be out in LA in May. I hope you're going to be able to visit us in person because we've got enough things to talk with you about. I keep wanting to bring up certain things that I'm realizing are going to take us down totally different paths, like, don't live in a first floor apartment, walking to your car, looking at your cell phone, all the Ubers. But I think we have to save that for a second one, because the sticking with the book and the gadgets, we've got our tampons. We've got our flashlight. And by the way, your website, which is really cool. I know you didn't come on here to hawk stuff, which I appreciate, but that's also why I want to make sure we give you a shout out. Violent Nomad is where you sell a lot of the things you're talking about, like the flashlight and some other gear. So people know that. We'll put the URL up if you want to get items Clint specifically recommends for your protection. What else do you have that is the common household everyday item that might surprise people with its uses?
Well, something simple that I think we're all kind of sipping on right now, right? Hot coffee. People forget that, it burns the face. And I've got, you plugged Violent Nomad, but I've got, coffee mugs with brass knuckles built into them. And that's sexy.
Awesome.
Wow.
But so it serves two purposes, right? I'm drinking hot coffee. I can burn your face and I can also bash your skull in. So it's, it goes both ways.
I love that.
Christmas ideas.
That was awesome.
Can you
Father's Day's coming
off my desk? Can you grab my keys for me? I want to show Clint something. I'm going to show you something that I picked up from a SEAL brother of yours recently.
All right,
Give him a shout out. So I'll show you my keychain because that inspired me.
Cool.
But that coffee mug, you sell that on your website?
Oh yeah. That's easy.
We're gonna need some of those. I need like sure.
So this is.
I'll hook you guys up. I'll send you a little care package.
Are you familiar with Andy Arabito? He does the half-ace blades.
Oh,
He started the kill bag.
Yeah,
so this is called his friend maker. And it's just, I keep it on my keychain, and it's basically the two knuckles.
Yeah.
And it slides right on. So if they can see it for the camera. And I think he calls it the friend maker, the friendship maker. Yeah. But same concept. And really, you're just walking to your car. I keep it on my keys because, frankly, it's that much easier not to lose them. So it's like a weighted keychain.
Yeah.
And I'd go everywhere with this. But it's one of those things where if you're walking to your car, again, I was going to say for a female, but why wouldn't I want that? This is my keys. I mean, I'm not beyond someone taking me down. I mean, the smallest guy could take down the biggest guy, especially if he's trained, if he hits the right spot. So
your looks are misleading. You're very weak.
This is.
Oh yeah.
So she just volunteered for when you do come out to show some of those deadly tactics, including how to muzzle someone. But anyway, I like the coffee mug, but that was something where I just wanted to.
No, that's awesome. Andy's good people, man. I love that guy. And he makes an incredible product. All his knives are, I've got several and I look at them as like they're pieces of art. Like I don't even want to get them dirty. You know what I mean?
He yelled at me for that because he's like, "Hey, you've been using the hatchet. You've been using it." I'm like, "Dude, they're too nice. They're like beautiful." He's like, "They're beautiful, deadly art. Go hunt and kill something, man. Carve it up and send me a picture."
Yeah, no kidding. Yeah, that's it. So getting into the realm of coffee mugs, you also I like to tell people, especially at restaurants, like. Salt and pepper burns the eyes, and pepper shakers, salt shakers are everywhere. And most of them are the glass silver top ones we've all been using our entire lives. It'd be crazy not to mention it with, this being what I'm calling the year of the active shooter. We've already had 100+ mass shootings in the United States. I'm pretty sure it's going to beat the record of any other year. And it makes sense coming out of a pandemic. People have been cooped up, that kind of isolation obviously increases mental health issues, substance abuse, relationship issues, you name it. So, but if you find yourself in a restaurant or anywhere, there's salt and pepper shakers. I mean, not only does salt and pepper burn the eyes, right? You have that improvised weapon sitting in front of you everywhere you go. But if you've ever thrown one of those at someone, it doesn't feel good. And at a minimum, when you talk about somebody who's got a gun in their hand, tunnel vision, and shooting, and you go to throw something at them, just that flinch, that split second is literally enough time for you to move to safety, right? Or to just cause them to look away for that moment in time that you need to create space or distance, right? Because to increase survivability, you increase distance. It's been proven time and time again in all of these real world events. Anytime you come to a standstill, then you start to define those things like sitting duck, or if you run to the wrong place, you're defining what is a dead end. And those are the things you want to prevent, right? There's reasons why we say those terms. And so those are the kinds of terms you need to think about ahead of time, right? So that you have a plan. And it doesn't need to be, paranoia type thinking. It's just being more prepared and looking around your environment and going, okay, yeah, all right, I can go that way and I can go that way. Good enough, right? I know that, I can flip this table up and it can stop some bullets, or I know I can hide behind that pillar over there and it can stop some bullets. But you're kind of IDing these things while you're walking around or sitting in different spaces from time to time. And we all, let's face it, we all have a very small bubble, even before the pandemic. You know, we had our house, we had our coffee shops, our gyms, and work. That's it, right? It's a very small bubble. So the routes between those points, and once you get to those points, there is no reason in the world that you shouldn't know your routes in those places inside and out, right? It'd just be dumb not to, right? So now our bubbles are even smaller. It's really, we're at home. And then we have strangers that leave crap at our front door on a regular basis now. We've got, and we may get out and go get a coffee as our little treat to ourselves. You guys obviously going to work, which is great. That's how it should be. We need to get back to normal. But, you know, now it's even more important to start going, all right, not only do I know my routes, not only do I know my environments, but go, okay, now what can I use as an improvised weapon around me? Right? We have them everywhere. This microphone, I can detach from this thing, and it's, you know, your microphones, they're all pretty hefty. If you hold them, it's going to hurt if you hit somebody with it. Right. Right. You know, you can take, I've got, you know, things on my desk, right? I got this cool little, you know, tributes that, you know, represent my 20 years. Right. I mean, I know I could break a skull open with this thing. Right. So, you know, improvised weapons are everywhere. It's just a matter of identifying some of this stuff ahead of time, and so that you can prevent, you know, a good day prevent a good day from going bad.
Right.
You know, one of the things that you're mentioning, and I'm want you to obviously clarify if I'm misspeaking. I had seen another military veteran speaking about active shooting situations. Yeah. And he had said that one of the biggest mistakes or things to be aware of, because again, it's in those situations, you know, if people don't know or panic, you never know how they're going to react. But he said, be cognizant that people have a pattern to run in a pack, and you have everybody running together in the same direction. And he said the problem with that is that most active shooters are not trained shooters. They have a lot of mental delusion. They're just randomly firing. And generally speaking, they're going to aim into where the most people are to do the most carnage. Whereas if you were to run away from the pack, the chances of someone aiming, targeting, and being able to hit you is much lower. Is that accurate, or are there too many variables within that have to be discussed?
Yeah, there's a couple other things. I've been doing active shooter training for, since I've been out. And that's all I do for Fortune 500s, places of worship, private schools, you name it, is crisis management. So there's a lot that goes into this. Number one, weapons fired indoors versus outdoors. Indoors, gunshots become omnidirectional, right? I can fire a gun down a hallway and behind another door, and people will think that gunshot was just outside their office door. Right. Mm-hmm. There are times when people think the gunshots are coming from the left. Right. And so then they run to the right, and they don't even realize they're actually running towards the shooter. So you really have to, number one, identify that shooter, or with as much information that you can get in those moments, figure out at least what direction is the shooter. There's something, and I've been putting out the running with the herd thing, and to be careful, for quite some time. And my curriculum is, literally all over the place at this point. But there's something important, the mammalian reflex. We've all heard about it when it comes to when you're going to drown, right? That your body naturally shuts down certain aspects of your airway to prevent the drowning. There's other things that fall into that also apply. When you see a bunch of people go running by, it is the mammalian reflex that makes you go, I need to run with them, right?
Right.
You want to run with the herd, right? Because we are mammals at the end of the day. That is something you're going to have to fight. Number one, like I mentioned previously, you have to know which direction the shooter is. You do not just want to run with the herd aimlessly. That would not make any sense. Staying in satellite groups, I totally agree with, right? And so be a smaller group, right? And move with it. You're going to be far more nimble. You're going to prevent any of the stampede, trampling type issues that go on when big masses of people start running down a hallway. You got walls literally, on four sides of you, right? The ceiling, the floor, and then you've got the walls on both sides. And that's where a lot of crush injuries occur anyway. So that's another reason, just stay away from the herd.
So you don't get crushed. That's actually another good point. You get trampled on.
Oh yeah. And then there's a lot of asphyxiation, like crush injuries, breathing injuries, whether it's social unrest and, what we saw, this past year in major cities, there were a lot of crush injuries, or people who suffocated. I mean, remember the video of the Capitol building when everybody was in between the doorways and it was the one Capitol Police guy that was like, I can't breathe. He is stuck. That is just horrible. That's like the worst probably way to die, I would think, just being suffocated slowly. So, there's a lot of reasons to look out for the herd. But if for some reason the herd is running in the right direction and you can trail behind it, or somewhere in, I would say, the perimeter of that herd, that's probably the better place to be, because dead center, like you said, is where the rounds are just probably going to be put, so he gets the most bang for his buck out of that moment in time when he's shooting. And that's the run, really. When you can run, you should run from point to point, taking cover along the way, always trying to keep your eyes on the shooter. There's a difference between cover and concealment, right? Cover stops bullets, concealment just hides you. So I always compare it to a cinder block wall versus, getting behind the curtains, right? Both get you out of sight, but only one of those will stop bullets, right? And so those are, once again, things you should be identifying, well ahead of time.
So you would go for cover over concealment,
right? Obviously,
which is so helpful though, because again, if you don't hear someone say that, and you're not being taught that, when that moment comes, if God forbid you happen to be in that situation where it does, you don't have time to be thinking about that. I mean, you see a curtain, you might see a cinder block wall. I mean, so to just intuitively be thinking that, over cover, over conceal, and make your choice.
Right.
You don't have time to sit there and say, should I go this way or this way?
Right. You're exactly. You want to be able to take those moments of cover to just ensure that you're still going the right direction. And then I always tell people, the lone wolf has been really the only threat. Now, give it some time and we're going to see multiple shooters, right? These suicide pact crap has been going on. I mean, just here locally, we had two brothers decide to kill the entire family, and then they killed each other at the end, right? And so, with time, you may not see the lone wolf. There may be multiple. And so that's another reason to kind of train your mind to sprinting to cover, and then take a moment, look, listen, and feel, right? And go, okay, yep, there's still the one shooter. I don't see any other threats. Now move to the next piece of cover. Stop, look, listen, and feel. Because a lot of people look at it, it's better to treat it like sprints than like some marathon across 100-yard football field, right? That wouldn't make sense, being in the open for that period of time without taking cover. You would feel like, okay, any minute now I'm going to get shot because I've been in the open way too long, right? Mm-hmm. You're naturally probably going to feel that way, but you want to at least mentally go, all right, what would I sprint to right now? Oh, I'd sprint to that. I'd get to the T intersection in a hallway and then duck behind the T, knowing that at the other end of the hallway is a set of doors. And then when I get through those doors, I'm going to go to the first vehicle. I'm going to get behind the engine block, not the trunk, right? And then I'm going to find another vehicle. I'm going to go to that engine block, and from engine block to engine block until I'm at the end of that property or that parking lot. Now I'm going to be looking for trees or maybe other buildings, right? And I'm going to start creating separation by putting buildings between me and where I just was, right? So
I'm so glad we're talking. I would have just ran in a straight line, panicking all the way.
Yeah, so you got to remember, we're surrounded by the improvised weapons, improvised concealment, improvised cover. You just have to take a moment and kind of think about it. And once again, the only reason I bring all this up is because I feel like this will be the year of the active shooter, unfortunately, and we all need to be on the look at it more so than any other time in history. So,
right.
You also, I know what people were bringing up is have unique uses for condoms.
Yeah, let's break the tempo and get into condoms. Now, I think those.
So they just.
There you are. Props.
Dana was packing. She was prepared. Her
Always.
survivor
Gotta
skills.
keep safe.
Wow.
That's right.
Yeah. Are those Magnums? Yeah.
No, they're whatever 7-Eleven had. We sent Kayla. Poor girl's been married 10 years. It's probably her first run in a long time.
Oh, yeah.
Now you have to explain to Dana that if someone breaks in and tries to harm her, she can't just hit them on the head with this, that there's a whole different technique.
Yeah. Yeah, condoms those are fun. They're great, for bachelor parties and bachelorette parties, and not for what they're used for. Probably more so as balloons and things to decorate the room with. But other than that, we know that they're latex. There's other ones made out of different, people who are allergic to latex, whatever. But a traditional latex condom, they come kind of pre-lubricated, and what's interesting about that is it's one of the best fire starters out there, already ready to go, right? And it's a slow burn. It's not fast. So it'll sit there and just burn nice and slow. Now they're throwing them around.
I've been doing this a long time. No one ever threw a condom at me.
Yeah, that was the first.
Not in this job, at least. I mean,
she missed pretty badly too, though.
I grew up bartending in New Jersey, so I had some things thrown at me that were probably in that genre, but not in this world. Come on now, control yourself, woman.
Yeah, they've got obviously a lot of different uses. So, as a
so that lubricant is a fire starter, is what you're saying.
Yeah, it's.
Did anyone know that in a million years?
I did not know
You're
that.
totally going to start using them at home in your little fire pit.
Yeah.
Just
yeah. I mean, a lot of times, now are they environmental friendly when you start burning them? No, you're burning rubber, right? So. But as something that, maybe it's a last resort, or you find one in a glove box, you think to yourself, that's worthless in a survival situation. The reality is no, it's actually pretty cool. Starting fires, you can use it as a water container. You can put like almost a liter of water in that thing and tie it off and it not bust. So it can be used for several things, mainly because of how they were designed. They are durable. They're supposed to be impenetrable to, friction and other things. So for the most part, you're talking about an item that how it's been tested can apply to other things, right? And so that's really the key. For us, we put it on the end of our rifles, right? So that the YouTube video you guys pulled and kind of made the trailer for this, which was great. Like I said, you've set the bar for all the other podcasters out there to aspire to having trailers for these interviews. Awesome.
Well, and apparently we throw condoms at the boss.
Yeah.
I mean, that's how often does that happen?
I don't get many chances to do that. So.
Yeah, she took it. Smart.
That's a great work environment. I say I kind of want to work with you guys.
But in the SEALs and in the military, I imagine you guys obviously have something more official or that is made for covering your devices when you're underwater. But conceptually, if you're out hunting or if you're in survival mode, if you're camping and you get stranded or something, if you have to go across water, you have to go across a riverbed. I mean, obviously, you may need to hunt for food for a few days. You need to make sure that your rifle's intact, and that is protection for your weapon.
Yeah, no doubt. It was specifically for us, our old UDT forefathers, the underwater demolition teams that cleared the beaches in Normandy. Those were like hardcore, true frogmen, right? And they would swim in with and if they were swimming in with a rifle, most of the time they weren't. But in training back then, you put a condom over the muzzle of your weapon and you would duct tape it in place. And then you would make sure that you had a round in the chamber and the bolt was forward. That way you knew from the bullet to the end of that rifle, you had nothing but air, meaning that first round you fire is going to happen. It's going to do its job. And so it keeps dirt, debris, water, everything out of that muzzle so that weapon will function properly if you swim across a beach. And as we all know, you go through a surf zone, sand, dirt, you name it, gets in everywhere. There's no way to prevent it. So that was a precautionary move that, the old frogmen used to do. Now, of course, we have these cool dry bags that actually allow your hand to go inside and you can have your finger on the trigger and you're ready to go as soon as you come across that beach and your rifle is bone dry, right? But there was times, of course, you didn't have that. Or maybe, you go overseas and, and you never know there operationally how you get tasked. where you may not have those cool guy bags with you or some of the cool stuff. You just got to, make do with what you have, which is what this is all about, is improvise your environment, adapt, and kind of overcome it the best you can.
But again, to the everyday person, camping, hiking, you might go rafting. Literally, I mean, you have the ability to start a fire, and you have protection for your firearm from getting wet just by bringing a condom. So and they fit. It's important to know. You bring up kind of that outdoor activity stuff. I mean, you can wrap it around your cell phone. You can wrap it around smaller electronic items to keep them waterproof while you're doing all those outdoor events. I mean, it's endless. It's really your imagination is the limit. But you can use condoms for all kinds of stuff. Plus, you may bump into a friendly hiker and spark up a conversation. Now, the problem would end up being if you ended up using it up over a fire and a cup of whiskey or something, then the next day you really got in trouble.
Right.
You'd be like, I'm such an idiot.
Oh, my gosh.
Campfire is a romantic place to hang out.
I've looked at REI's website. They've got like all these different tours now for camping.
Yeah.
And it's like singles, meet people, all these different scenarios. And so it's like, hey, man, it's the great outdoors. It does things to people, I imagine. What do I know?
Yeah. Who knows?
What are some of the specific questions you guys? I know you have more stuff.
So I have a question for you, Clint.
Sure.
When it comes to traveling, especially in a foreign country, what are some of your top tips for someone to be aware of and to help protect themselves from?
Yeah, good question. The big one that will save your life all the time and you'll never know it is doing your best to be the gray person. The gray person, I break down into 4 different kinds of awareness, and I'm going to try and keep it exciting, not so boring, but personal awareness, right? We all, this is look in the mirror before you walk out the door, right? And take a moment and Google, what can I wear here, right? Whatever that geographical location is. What should I not wear here, right? That right there off the bat, what you're wearing will save you more times than not. So for the most part, when you're traveling abroad and to be gray, you want to stay away from all the expensive stuff. We've heard that, right? Don't wear the fancy watch and the big rings and the diamonds and this and that. And don't flaunt, none of that's going to get you anywhere. It's great for your ego, but that's about it. A lot of times when we get dressed, our ego dresses us, right? Because we don't want to look like the person we're sitting next to and, in a subway or, wherever or at work. So you got to put that in check a little bit. Neutral colors, no big logos, nothing that just stands out, right? I used to run this course for SEALs that kind of, taught this whole kind of be the great person type stuff. And they're the hardest to train because they already look intimidating to a certain degree. They're athletic. They have an aura about them. That's the most difficult part to kind of break is if they've been operational for a while, you can put penny loafers, a calculator watch, maybe even throw a pocket protector on them, and they still have an aura that is like, that dude is going to kill me, right?
Right.
And so it has everything to do with projection and demeanor management, right? And that is ultimately what you need to do. That's personal awareness. Like control what you're wearing, make sure it does not clash with the environment you're in, make sure it blends into the environment. The best way to really kind of test yourself and see who the great people are is next time you're sitting at the airport, right? You're sitting at your gate, just watch people. There are people you're going to just naturally just notice, right? Mm-hmm. And then there's going to be the people in the background that walk right by and you never saw them. That's the ones I want you to hook onto and go, what are they wearing and why did I not notice that person? So that's personal awareness. And then you have cultural awareness, right? Which is tied into it. You have to know the do's and don'ts. I love like Inglourious Bastards. Remember that movie, Brad Pitt, right? And there was the difference between using the normal American way of number 3 with your fingers. Right. And then there's the European way where they use their thumb. And that's what burned them, right? So something that simple can prevent you from being gray. So make sure you understand the cultural protocols and etiquette before you go so that you don't do something dumb and offend someone. And before you know it, once again, you're targeted, right? We're trying to prevent being targeted. And then you have third-party awareness, right? Third-party awareness is everyone around you has the ability to scrutinize you and judge you without ever getting to know you, right? We do it to each other all the time. And so ultimately with personal awareness and cultural awareness, you're trying to control third-party awareness, especially law enforcement, foreign intel, all of those that their second job is called bribery, right? And so you want to avoid all that altogether by, once again, paying attention to your personal awareness and your cultural awareness will hopefully reduce your third-party awareness. And then, of course, the last one is situational awareness, right? That one gets used all the time, but is, you have to know what to look for. I tell people all the time, if we're trying to pay attention to everything, you will pay attention to nothing, right? Our brains cannot aggregate that much data. So you have to know, what are the threats in this area? And there's an acronym, THREAT, threat, right? And you can scribble it down real quick before you travel. Put T, vertically put THREAT. And then the first T is going to be, okay, in Google, I'm going to put Beijing, and then I'm going to put the first T, technical threats. Now, how many articles do you think you're going to find of all the tech threats being used against you if you go to China? Lots, right? And so now you know what to look for. H would be health threats, R would be raids, robbery, and ransom. E is environmental, right? That's all the big disasters, or tsunamis. If I'm going to Indonesia and I'm going to hang out on the beach for a couple of weeks, you probably should know, what's the tsunami level? Is it the season? All that kind of good stuff. Then you have A, that's agencies working against you. So that's foreign intel, organized crime, law enforcement, all those that are around you and you don't even see them coming, right? And then the final T is terrorism, right? Know what the terror threat is in that area before you go. So blend in, be the gray person and make sure you know the threats. That way it heightens your situational awareness on what to look for so that you're not just trying to look at everything. That's the 5-minute dump on that.
Have you had people reach out to you, I imagine so, and say, hey man, I read your book and picked up this and I used it and it saved me, or I was at your seminar and this happened? And what are some examples where like in real life that's come back to you?
Yeah, probably one of the most standout ones was my company Escape the Wolf, which does all the crisis stuff. One of my first clients was the Wall Street Journal, and a guy named Joe Canamesa. He's a retired FBI guy. He was head of security for Wall Street Journal, Dow Jones. And he was like, hey, I want you to teach all 700 of my most elite journalists that crap in your book. I'm like, okay, I'm not.
Danny Pearl was a Wall Street Journal reporter, wasn't he? Before he got kidnapped and ultimately executed, had his head cut off from that story.
Exactly. And Joe was head of security when all that happened. And so it was all very near and dear how Danny was, thought he was going to a source meeting. He thought it was legit, but he had never had any training on how to really make sure that he was being safe before he went to have a meeting with an unknown. We all know the story. They ended up kind of grabbing him, pulling him out the back door, and he disappeared forever. And then next time we see him is on YouTube, orange jumpsuit. And it was one of the very first videos of beheadings, by Al-Qaeda. I put them through some seminars, but then I had, turned a lot of total awareness into e-learning. And, we built it, I put it on their servers, and then all of those journalists were required to take it. And I think they still take it to this day. And to get the feedback from folks like that was really cool. I had several that were a female journalist. She was down in Colombia. And almost became part of a very violent express kidnapping. And she was able to deter it just through using the skills that she was taught over e-learning, which was really cool. But I've had, a lot of journalists, other employees of other companies reach out and say, hey, thanks. I was overseas and this happened and, your information saved my life. And that is like super cool. That's better. That's exactly why you kind of, get into this stuff. And you can only hope that people never have to use it. But when they do and they tell you about it, it obviously makes things far more satisfying. It's a satisfying piece of the job.
One of you guys have a question, and we're going to do the rapid fire for Clint.
I'm curious about your tattoos, Clint. What's as you know, Drew loves tattoos as well. So I'm curious, when you started getting your tattoos, and what do they mean to you?
It's not very gray of you.
I know, that's true.
Yeah, they counter everything I'm saying.
Because as you're saying, blend in, don't stand out, which I get, and she's looking at me like,
I'm like,
yeah.
Sleeves, I don't know.
So yeah, it's a great observation, and I have something that goes with that a little bit. My first tattoo was in high school with a buddy, and it was I kept them around my ankles because I wasn't sure if I wanted the world to see them. But one, I've wanted to be a SEAL forever. So I got this little shark. Turned out like crap. It looks more like a deformed dolphin these days, but I got that. But then I remained tattoo free my entire career, right? When you're traveling the globe, you can't have, the American flag and the Texas flag flying on your forearms. That would definitely bring attention. So I didn't actually start really getting ink. I always wanted to get more. I wanted my whole back done and everything, right? But I was like, man, if I do that, it's not going to work well with what I'm doing for a living. So I waited until the final years when I wasn't operating anymore and I was retiring. Then I just went full bore, right? And so my right arm represents pretty much my career, and my left arm is more personal, right? So the right arm starts with America. Then it leads into portrait stuff of Poseidon. And he's got, an old Navy ship in his beard, and kind of a tribute to, the frogman world, which is the ocean. And, and it's also a reminder that the ocean, like life, is one of the most unforgiving places you'll ever be. And then the left is representation of, what I'm doing now and stuff. So it's a wolf on,
Cool.
a wolf's head on top of a skull, which represents Escape the Wolf and 100 Deadly Skills, the book series. And then in my forearms and stuff, which are about to get done, my personal arm will have my mom and dad's, information, like, I don't know, tombstones or something cool. And then the right arm will have the 22 buddies I lost in my career, their names and stuff to fill in the rest of the forearm. But that's yet to be seen. So I'll show it off next time.
Awesome.
Maybe I'll have some of it done when we catch up with you. So why don't you guys split the rapid fire?
Sure.
You guys left off the question you were all asking about yesterday.
We'll add it in. I'll add it in.
You know which one that was.
Yeah. All right. So Clint, we have some rapid fire questions for you. So just first thing that comes to mind.
Oh boy.
Top weapon of choice.
The pen.
If you could choose one superpower, what would it be?
Oh, that's a tough one. Probably flight.
Whiskey or beer?
Whiskey.
Are you married or single?
I'm in the middle. Girlfriend.
Okay, Danny, you want to do the rest?
Yeah. Beach vacation or city vacation?
Beach.
Okay. Favorite tattoo on yourself?
Poseidon.
Breakfast or dinner?
Breakfast all day long.
Worst job ever? Or task of a job?
First job, McDonald's.
Ooh. Favorite TV show?
Oh, man, there are so many good ones these days. But overall, the one I'd probably default to and watch most recently is Yellowstone.
I haven't seen that yet.
I've heard a lot about that.
I recently found this one called Blacklist, which has like a ton of seasons that knows James Spader, and he's criminal turned operative mastermind. Really cool. I don't know if it's on Netflix, but or Hulu. It's just rad. I mean, borderline unbelievable, but Spader's so like sinisterly brilliant. Now he's a good guy, and he's helping the CIA catch the worst guys in the world.
Yeah,
it's pretty rad. You brought up the pen. Got to go back. So we didn't talk about that when you said favorite weapon. So explain how a basic pen, because everybody's got one of those.
Yeah,
that's true.
Right. So show us that.
So in book one, I brought up I should have bought stock or made a deal with this company because they sold out. Book one sat on the New York Times list for like 8 months straight. And I mentioned how a Zebra F701, it's a steel barrel pen that you can buy at Walmart or anywhere. So write that down, Zebra F701. They make a lot of steel barrel pens, but that's their sturdiest. And you can, stab somebody in the face all day long with that thing. And of course these days I sell these at Violent Nomad, but more tactical pens. But the difference between this and mine is it's got a tungsten point. Now tungsten is a really strong, awesome metal. We've used it in explosives, for example, tungsten cubes. It'll shred, a vehicle apart.
But Clint, if I want the ability to stab someone in the face all day long, you never know when I need to use your own. Do I want the Zebra F701 or do I want yours from the Nomad?
No, it's up
site?
to you. Mine's obviously these tactical.
Which one gives me more face stabbing power for better longevity?
Well, what I call the discreet stabbing tool. This certainly will cause more damage. The tungsten point is a point, right? It's evil. And then, of course, the aircraft aluminum design gives you a nice sturdy weapon. People forget, when you make a fist, right, you have the point, you have the hilt or the butt, right, and you still have a fist. You have 3 weapons. A lot of times when people get a weapon in their hand, they feel like I just can only do this motion right here, right? But no, that's not the case. Remember, you've got 3 weapons as soon as you put anything in your hand. You can still use your fist. You can still stab. You can still, side jab, whatever you need to do. But it's a great self-defense weapon. But I've also told guys all the time, also when you hear about the pen being mightier than the sword, I've learned through being an author that, ink on paper sometimes is more powerful than any gunpowder and bullet setup you've got, and so it goes both ways. It really does. But a pen is just great. You can have them everywhere. Your cup holder for that carjacking. You can have them in your purse, in your wallet, in your pocket. You can travel with them on an airplane. You can go literally everywhere with a pen. And
I'm gonna have to trade in my purple felt tip pen for something a little more substantial.
Yeah.
Well, remember the Joe Pesci scene from Goodfellas? If you remember when Joe Pesci took the pen at the bar and went into the guy's artery in his neck when the guy who was rude to his friend, to Henry Hill. I don't know if anyone remembers. We'll have to show a clip of that, but it was just sitting there with a fountain pen, and the guy turns his back or is rude, and Pesci picks up the pen and just the neck goes all over. But
or hey, look at John Wick,
yeah,
pencil. He killed him with the pencil.
yeah. Well, and you brought up Inglourious Bastards. Is it Inglorious or Inglorious Bastards with Brad Pitt?
Yeah.
And when you said that, I was holding myself in to not bring up the bear juice scene.
There you go. Yeah.
When he brings out the baseball batter who comes out. I mean, it's a pretty brutal scene. So parents may not want to show it to their kids, but it is one of the more amazing scenes from a Quentin Tarantino film.
Yeah, great movie.
Brad Pitt calls him up to the plate, and you could watch it and see what happens to the Nazi soldier's head afterwards.
Yeah, that's awesome stuff. I love it, and that's why in Combat Edition, all the good guys in that book teaching you skills are fighting famous bad guys. Everybody, I got Hitler in there getting his ass kicked by a Krav Maga kid, right, Marcus? And then I've also, have the professional knife thrower, throwing knives at, Epstein's face. So it's got some pretty cool bad guys and good guys in there that goes along with that scene.
Well, listen, man, you've been amazing with your time. We could probably talk to you for hours, which we want to. So I hope you will come out in person, assuming your LA May plans stick. I hope everyone watching this picks up a copy. Is it better that they go to your website or Amazon? If they go to your website and you're fulfilling these, you're going to make more money. But where do you want people to go to buy these?
The easy way to put it is if you want a signed copy, you just go to violentnomad.com. And if you just want, and it's not going to be as fast, right? Because I stack them up and sign them, and it takes me, longer. But if you just want one right now, then Amazon obviously is the place. They'll have it to you in like 48 hours.
Mine's not signed. I got mine on
I
Amazon.
know, and I had to buy a signed one.
It's not the official. It's
Take it.
freaking
If
Jeff.
he comes
Jeff
in
Bezos.
May, maybe he can do it in person.
I know. Plus, he's got some other books, so we're gonna have to check those out as well. You're an incredible, dude. Thank you for all that you're doing. Again, thank you for all your time with the SEALs and service to everyone here and beyond, and all the great things that you're sharing with people.
Yeah.
The empowerment, I think, is such a big part of it for women and men and kids. I mean, I certainly have a 13-year-old daughter. I'm going to be sharing some of these things with her. It's giving people the confidence.
I feel a little bit more safe just hearing his tips he gave
Knowledge
me on.
is power.
Yeah.
Yep.
And not feeling like, if an intruder says be quiet and it will be okay, realizing that, that's the last thing in the world that you want to do. And
Yep.
That's
grab
right.
grab your pen.
Yeah.
Yeah,
very cool.
Bear spray.
So
bear spray. Lots of bear spray.
Okay.
Oh.
Bear spray.
We got shopping to do, Dana.
You just yell for your husband. He's a cop, so that hopefully.
Well, what if he's not around? I still need to know.
Right.
right.
Whatever old pair of cowboy boots you no longer use, I'll take.
That's right.
Thank
I got plenty of
Sure, it's
cowboy
not a
boots.
size 12.
I'm 12 and a half. So,
Okay, there you go.
I mean, it makes the point.
Will that work?
Maybe we should just go out and buy you a pair of 15s to really scare the living
Yeah, there you
daylights
go.
out. Or one of Shaq's old shoes, one of his old sneakers from Shaq, and let him sit out there and the guy be going. Clint, thanks, brother. We'll do it again soon.
No,
Stay safe.
Thanks.
Thanks again for having me. It's a great podcast. You guys are cool. And look forward to another opportunity.
Cool. And make sure
Bye.
people
All right.
check out Clint's website, Violent Nomad, buy some cool stuff that will maybe save your life or a friend, and obviously 100 Deadly Skills. And then give us a like or a subscribe as Not Seen on TV. We always like when you come back and hang out with us and play with us. And we have some more cool stuff coming up.
Hey, it's great hanging out with you guys.
Thank you.
Thanks.